I got Facebook, I got X, I got LinkedIn, and I've got Fitness Jones training page on the computer. Right here, right here, I got Instagram, and we are in just in time for a Quick and Dirty live broadcast. I want to talk about something that's been a common problem for the population that I serve as a trainer. If you don't know who I serve as a trainer, it's probably important for me to tell you right now, right? So the population that I serve as a trainer is midlife women. I'm a 50-year-old cisgendered heterosexual male personal trainer. I started working in this industry at age 40. I just turned 50 last year, and the population, the people that I've been serving, sort of aged along with me. So now I find myself in a space where I'm working primarily with women through the midlife spectrum, and of course that brings into account things like perimenopause, menopause, which is technically a day, postmenopause. But I want to talk about something that's a common issue for that particular population, and it's the need for protein and great protein sources. I'm gonna sip this water really quick. Instagram says they're calling more followers to the live broadcast. I don't know if I believe that. Instagram lies so much, you liar. But I want to talk about protein because one of the things that you probably know, if you're a midlife woman, definitely you notice if you work in this space as a fitness or nutrition professional who works with that group, is that protein is crucial. It's crucial to everybody, really, but it's even more crucial for the active woman in midlife who's trying to maintain a certain body composition or just generally trying to maintain her physical ability, her strength, her ability to live independently. Because on the other side of age 30, we run into age related muscle loss, sarcopenia. Now, this happens to everybody basically on the other side of 30, men too. The differentiation for women, particularly midlife women, is that we know that the age related muscle loss has a tendency to accelerate in perimenopause. That's where a good chunk of it happens. We're looking generally at a rate of 3 to 8% of muscle loss per decade on the other side of 30. But again, that withdrawal of estrogen or fluctuation of estrogen and progesterone really accelerates age related muscle loss. So protein becomes a big ass deal for women in midlife because nobody wants to have to be given care. You want to live in the home that you decided was your forever home independently. You want to be able to move and dance and have sex and travel, and all of that depends on muscle. And at this point in the midlife spectrum for women, we know that because of the fluctuation of estrogen and the withdrawal of estrogen, we know that it becomes A, harder to keep the muscle that you have, right? And B, it's a little bit more challenging for your body to absorb protein from the foods you eat. So if you're in that stage of life, excuse me, if you're in that stage of life, if you're also strength training, if you're also an active woman, if you also want to maintain your muscle tone, if you also want to live independently, you're in a situation now where it becomes even more crucial to be able to get enough protein throughout the course of the day. Therein lies the problem. What I often hear from the clients that I serve, and just generally on social media from people who ask me questions, is how do I get all this protein in the day? And I want to address that really quickly. And I've got a few people that I want to tag in this after it goes up because I promised you I would. So let's look at the barriers to getting enough protein. Because one thing that we often overlook, we don't talk about, are the barriers to making this thing easy. Allergies are killing me. And one of the barriers is your skill set, right? You may not have the cooking skills to be able to maintain adequate levels of protein to even consume in your house, right? That's a barrier. Like if you're not really the type of person that cooks, everything nutritionally gets a little bit harder. Second barrier, you may not have access. I think that we don't always express that as coaches. We're always talking about what's optimal and what's ideal. Hell, some people just don't really have access to a wide variety of foods. You know, adequate grocery stores, fresh produce, vegetables, and things like that. So we've got to look at that as a barrier. Also, the third barrier is obviously know-how. What foods contain protein, particularly if you're a plant-based eater primarily, that can get difficult. And then that fourth obstacle really is the plant-based conundrum, right? And nothing wrong with plant-based nutrition. It's just, and there is protein in plant-based items, right? Plants have protein. It just becomes a little bit more challenging if you're a plant-based eater. Plant-based eaters know that, and it just becomes a little bit more, it's a little bit more specific as how to, I'm not going to cough all the way through this live session. It's a little bit more specific as to how you're going to get enough protein, because for plants, it usually requires a little bit higher volume of food. So you may be eating more because, yes, lots of plants are dense in protein. It's just the amount of the plant that you have to eat to get all that protein could be a little bit more challenging. It's not like it's not doable. You can do it. It just requires a little bit more thought up front. So let's attack this situation. Before I get too deep into it, I've got to pay the bills because I'm currently enrolling. It's my enrollment week. I'm taking on 5 new clients, women 40 and above that want to build their healthiest relationship with food, build their healthiest body, their healthiest relationship with their body over the course of a 15-week signature online program. If that sounds like you, DM me the word live. We'll have a quick conversation in the DM, see if it might be a good fit for you. Now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about how you're going to get this protein. The first thing that I always suggest to the dynamic, amazing, busy, concerned women that I'm privileged to coach is maybe we start the eating a little bit sooner, right? Now, I know, particularly if you're in my age group, I'm 50 years old even, but even 10 years younger than that, you may be in a situation where eating early in the day is not your favorite, right? Especially if you survive the 80s. But even now, there's this whole movement of not eating much before you train in the day, not eating in the morning at all, fasted training, et cetera, popularized by, the bodybuilding end of things, typically in an attempt to control body composition. And there are also other things that purportedly the science shows about fasting. I can tell you with great clarity, great experience, great evidence, great education that working out in a fasted state isn't the best option for women. It's just not. Women do better in a fed state. A lot of what we see in terms of the other benefits of fasting and training is really only relevant to men, relevant also to obese men, and relevant also to obese, sedentary women. The information about women who are active, particularly perimenopausal, menopausal, which is technically a day, and postmenopausal women that are active, does not lend itself well to a fasted training. One of the reasons why I am not a big proponent of intermittent fasting for women who are active is because it can just make it a little bit more challenging to do something that's already challenging, which is to get enough protein throughout the day. If you're eating less generally or less frequently generally, you're probably going to have a harder time getting enough protein throughout the day. So the first tip that I always want to give is, can you start ingesting protein earlier in the day? Now, for my clients that work out early in the day, like they wake up and the first thing they do is work out, I understand that 2 things are happening here. Number one, they're probably psychologically deeply uncomfortable with eating prior to a workout in the morning. It's just something that feels like, There also could be a physical component here, right? It could make them nauseous, but more so what I find is that they're sort of kind of afraid that it will detract from the results of the workout. So many people work out for the purposes of controlling body composition, body fat, and muscle. Not everybody does by far, but so much of that is prevalent on the internet. And I get that. What I try to offer is an understanding that it's not going to be detrimental to your body composition if you have some fuel before you work out, particularly in the menopausal phase, in any part of that spectrum, that 3-part spectrum. I really want to be able to get a client to get some type of protein and some type of carbohydrate before the exercise, because the intensity of your exercise is so important in this phase of life in order to properly stimulate the muscles. So that doesn't mean that you need a Rudy Tooty fresh and fruity from your local IHOP. Doesn't mean you need a big breakfast from Denny's. It doesn't mean you need a lumberjack breakfast with pancakes and a side of beef, some ostrich eggs. That's not what I'm saying. But getting your protein earlier in the day, even if it's only 12, 13, 15 grams of protein, can be crucial in aiding you in getting enough protein throughout the day. Oftentimes, with intermittent fasting, you're not afforded that opportunity because your eating window is so small and protein is so satiating and satisfying, you're liable to tap out on fullness before you're able to consume enough protein in a shorter eating window. That's just kind of practical, I think, right? I'm not saying anything against doing it. If it's your methodology and you love it. But from a practical standpoint, if you shrink the amount of time in a day that you're going to eat, and you have a significant requirement for fuel that's going to help you get the best results, making it more difficult to do doesn't really simplify your life, particularly if you have less time to eat more of a macronutrient, and protein falls into the category of something that you want to get a lot of. So how do I get this protein in the morning, man? If I'm not eating a full breakfast, I've got clients who buy like a pre-mixed a pre-mixed protein drink, right? Like a simple protein, a pure protein. It's in a little short, the little bottle like you can get at the convenience store at a gas station. They'll take that little milk-based sort of drink and they'll put half of the drink in their coffee, or a little bit of the drink in their coffee. Get some 12, 15 grams of protein, right? It's not a meal. Typically, it doesn't make them nauseous. A lot of the times they're drinking coffee anyway. I said, eat coffee. I know you're not out there eating coffee. A lot of the time they're drinking coffee anyway. It's a simple way to get a little bit of protein early in the day and a little bit of fuel to go into your workout. It could be as simple as putting some nut butter on toast, right? And I realize that nut butters aren't primarily sources of protein. Absolutely get that. I realize that they're mostly dietary fat. But again, you're just giving yourself a head start with protein throughout the day. Because if you can get about 15 grams of protein in a day, and if you're targeting getting something like 160 grams over the course of a day, you've got a good start. You've at least knocked that down to 145, right? If you get 15 and your target's 130 grams, well, you knocked it down to 115. This is a good place to be in order for you to be able to get that protein early. Oftentimes, ladies, oftentimes you just start getting the protein too late in the day. This is the way I do work during the course of the day. I start too late, and then I have that oh shit moment somewhere around noon. I got to get all this work done. Well, Ren, if you just gotten up and started earlier, you'd have less work. You'd have less density of work. Proteins like that. It's like that, ladies. Don't be that person. Let men do stupid things. Don't do stupid things with us. Start your day earlier with the protein. You put yourself in a situation where you've got way more time and a much easier pace to get it done. Most of us are scrambling to finish household duties right before you get home, ladies. Don't scramble like we do. Get it done early. Enjoy your afternoon and evening. So the first tip is to get started earlier. The second tip is to rethink what your fueling is like during the course of the day. A lot of these hard charging, go-getting ladies that I get the pleasure to interact with, they'll have a little bit of something sometime around their morning workout, and the rest of the day you're relatively apathetic to nutrition. You just get busy, you're doing things at work, you're doing things around the house, you're doing your to-do list all day. And there's sort of a dead zone that so many of my clients fall into, that during the course of the day, and I'll call it maybe from 10 a.m. till about 5 p.m., there's just no fueling happening. You've got all these opportunities to get a little bit of protein at a time, right? Just a little bit at a time. And we're missing all these opportunities, which is, by the way, why you might find yourself ravenous after dinner. This happens so much. This isn't the purpose of this live conversation, but you eat dinner and dinner asks for more food, right? Have you ever had that experience? A lot of the times it's because you're hungry, sis. You didn't eat all day, and your body's not going to let you get away with that. You're not going to be the type of woman that exercises regularly with great intensity and doesn't fuel. You're driving the car from New York to California. You put a quarter tank of gas in it, you're going to end up on the side of the road. Don't be that person. So if you can get protein frequently through the course of that dead zone period of your day, that 10 or 11 o'clock to 4 or 5 o'clock, that's another way for you to mitigate the requirement to put so much protein into your body at the last minute. Recapping, first, it's okay to get a little tiny bit of protein when you wake up. Doesn't have to be a big breakfast. It could be as simple as a manufactured, pre-mixed protein drink of some milky consistency into your coffee. It could be half of that bottle. That's absolutely great. Or hot cocoa, because hot cocoa is lovely. Who doesn't like a nice hot chocolate? You can put that in your cup in the morning too. You've solved a large part of your problem. Eating throughout the day, not allowing yourself to have that 10 o'clock to sort of 4 o'clock dead zone where you've decided that you're a robot at that point and you don't need fuel. You work off solar power. That doesn't work. So eating throughout the day. The third thing that I want you to consider is the fact that it's okay to have a protein powder. I know that social media wise, we're in this era of, if it didn't come from a Norse god off the southwesterly breeze naturally, like it did in the 1300s, I can't take it. If I didn't wrestle the animal down myself to get the most naturally pure source of protein, flesh off the bone, as I praise the gods for allowing me this kill. Like, we've got to slow down with that. Protein powder is not the devil. We talk about supplements regularly. We talk about supplementing with them because they're not the main source of nutrition. But hey, look, supplements are to supplement what you're not able to do, generally speaking, with ease. And it's okay for one of your protein sources in the course of the day to be a protein powder mixed in some way that you prefer. Whether it's in a smoothie, whether it's in some juice, whether it's in milk or water, which I can't imagine. Shout out to any of you psychopaths that drink protein powder and water. It's never going to happen in here. But if that's your jam, do your jam. It's okay, man. You're not supposed to be one with the earth, ancestral heritage, keeper of secrets, who only sources sunlight and rain for nutrients. It's a modern age. Take yourself a few levels down from perfection. Get off the hate train, Thanos, and allow yourself to just get some protein powder. It's such an easy option when you're busy, when you don't have the opportunity to cook. Any situation, having some of that handy can really help you. It can really help you piece together the gaps in getting protein throughout the day. And there's nothing to be ashamed of. Again, the influencer madness has taken over social media in terms of fitness and wellness and nutrition. It's at the point where everything becomes a moral decision now, of which your eternal soul will be judged and or damned by doing something outside of what's natural. I've got people that won't take medicine when they're ill because it's not natural. That doesn't make sense. I digress. So, utilizing a protein powder is a great option for helping yourself ingest enough protein. if you look at it through the numbers, average protein powder, 25 or 30 grams of protein, right? Let's say you got 25 grams of protein. Let's say you had 15 early in the morning, and at some break point in the day, you had the other 25. You're already at 40 grams of protein. Let's say you eat some protein with another meal. We'll call it lunch. They still have that, ladies. We'll say 30 grams. You got the 40 and 30, you're at 70 already. Let's say you get another 40. You've made your way over 100 grams of protein relatively easily. That's with no other snack involved. Most of you aren't getting that much protein in a day. I don't want to get too caught up in the numbers here because the real answer is more than what you've been doing. That's the answer. Let's simplify the answer that way. But that gives you the ability to better hit your mark. So starting earlier, allowing yourself to use a supplement in a bind, eating throughout the part of the day, the earlier part of the day, again, that 11 to 4 window where so many women are so wrapped up in the important things that they're doing that they just kind of don't pay attention to fueling their bodies and eating protein during your other 2 meals. We'll call it lunch, we'll call it dinner, maybe a snack after. These methods can really help you to better find an adequate amount of protein because unfortunately at this point in your hormonal life, midlife women, it really becomes one of the foundational blocks that's crucial in order to help you yield the results that you want. And one thing that I find to be disappointing on your behalf is to see how many tremendously hardworking, consistently exercising women are not able to yield the results from the great intense exercise that they're doing because something in the other 23 hours of the day is really jacking it the hell up. That's not fair to you. You don't have to deal with that. But another consideration here in terms of protein is outsourcing. Now, I realize I've got to put my disclaimers out for the folks that are generally disagreeable. I realize that outsourcing your protein requires a certain level of financial access, and it also requires access to something within your vicinity that allows you to outsource it. I'm talking about meal prep services, which I love, local ones that have things already built in that are fresh that you can get to, that you just pull them out of the freezer, put them in your freezer, and you heat it up in your microwave when you get home. I think that's an overlooked solution for most people, again, because unfortunately, we've assigned so much morality to your ability to be a healthy person, right? You're less than if you don't meal prep all of your own food for 6 hours on Sunday. You don't really want it bad enough. Bullshit, bullshit. It's okay to utilize the low-hanging fruit in every situation, the best methodology that you have access to that levels you up from here to here. Just a bit better choice, a bit better outcome, a bit easier methodology, and that trajectory over the course of your life will really shift your dynamic. So maybe you outsource. Maybe lunch is always a problem for you. So for 5 days during the week, you have 5 pre-ordered, pre-put together meals that you got from your local meal prep service. And a lot of them now will ship to you, to be perfectly honest with you. There are those options, but your local meal prep service that you keep in the freezer. Solving any part of a complex problem eventually allows you to solve the problem in its entirety, but you've got to be willing to take that step to do it. So that's another tip in terms of getting enough protein throughout the day, particularly for midlife women. I want to go back and recap really quickly what I talked about here, because number one thing we had is getting protein earlier in the day, right? I do not like the idea of intermittent fasting for women in midlife who are active. For women in midlife who train and want to maintain muscle and want to get strong and stay strong, I don't advise it because practically it shortens the amount of time that you can get all the protein in. It typically prevents you from eating protein earlier in the day. It typically causes you to be underfueled going into your workout, which reduces the intensity level of your workout. And if you need anything at this point in your life, through your workout, you definitely need intensity. And I prefer that if you're going to utilize some type of fasted technique, make it a time restricted eating technique. Don't fast in the day when you got shit to do. Fast in the evening when you just going to sleep, right? It doesn't make sense to not fuel and then work out and then go to work and then deal with your children and deal with your spouse and deal with the world when you could very easily fast in the evening when you're not dealing with any of that. So maybe you close your eating window at night at 7 o'clock. Fine. Make sure you're fueled throughout the day, but 7, eat your last meal. Maybe you don't go to bed until 9. That's 2 hours. Maybe you sleep from 9 to 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the morning. You've got 11 hours of fasting, right? You fasted for 11 hours. Why not do it then and allow yourself probably better quality sleep, maybe even improve body composition, but no lack in your ability to drive intensity through your workout that you desperately need throughout the day? I think that's a better think. I know that that's a better way for you to generate energy and also maintain your fasting practices. So I'm going to cut this short right here. Generally speaking, you're going to need the protein. Generally speaking, opening the window to get it is going to make it easier. Generally speaking, utilizing supplements that are available to you, if it's not seen as some moral failing, it's probably going to be a good idea for you. And generally speaking, if you have the access and ability, outsourcing some of the protein sources, particularly if preparing food isn't one of the skills that you're able to easily utilize, those things will help you get more of that protein throughout the day so you hit those fitness goals that you're trying to drive through doing a great job at exercise, but under fueling the body, particularly in terms of allowing that protein synthesis and anabolic response, growing the muscle, reducing the body fat, helping your body keep the muscle tone that it has. Pay the bills one more time before I get out of here. I am currently enrolling no more than 5 women in midlife who are tired of being on the diet roller coaster, who are exhausted by decades of dieting, who want to yield the results that match the effort that they're putting in the gym by using actual evidence-based practices from a 3-time certified menopause informed trainer. If that sounds like you, DM me the word live, LIVE. We'll have a quick conversation in the DMs. I have to talk to you to be able to help you. We have to have a conversation. And we'll see if the program, my 15-week signature program is a good fit for you. Until next time, let's keep it simple. Facebook, you still hanging around here, watching? Until next time.